Maddie McCaffrey. She's a student in the Launch Initiative, which is a ministry of Arrowhead Ministries at Brackney, PA, a GAP program that we've worked with for a while here with 11-6. And so, Maddie, thanks for taking some time to hang out with us and connect and share. For me, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you come from, all that fun stuff.
So my name is Maddie. I'm from Baltimore County, Maryland, very countryside of it all. Um, I don't know, I love working with people with disabilities, and so just being placed here when I'm here is just honestly a blessing. But yeah.
Awesome. So, Baltimore County, you're obviously in your kind of freshman year of college and whatnot. What did
Mhm.
life look like prior to that? And I guess, how did you connect with Arrowhead in that process and then end up in TLI?
Yeah, so life before all of this, I was in high school. I was really involved in FFA, which used to be known for Future Farmers of America. So I was the president there for my senior year of high school. And then I know an alumni that used to work here over the summer. And she reached out to me because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I wasn't really ready to go to college yet because I didn't want to like accumulate student debt and do all of that stuff. So we looked up and she gave me the idea of looking at this gap year program at Arrowhead. And I fell in love with it the first time I visited. And then I applied and I worked here for the summer. And now I'm here doing the gap year program.
Awesome. Okay, so you say you fell in love. I'm curious,
Mhm.
what did that look like? Like, what was it? Was there an experience? Was there what was it that connected for you while you were here or there?
Yeah, so just being around a community that works so hard and loves working with people with disabilities and showing them that they're loved and that they're worth it and they're worth the time that we're putting into being with them and just showing them that and the community of just being around people who love the same thing as me is just really important for me.
Awesome. And so what did your summer experience look like? What were you doing? What was the dynamic?
Yeah. So my summer experience was kind of a shock. I wasn't expecting it to be as much as it was. But the first week and a half was like training, learning how to provide for my campers, what to do for meals. And then after that, I was given my first 5-1, which was five campers, and then me. And I just learned the ropes of it. And I mean, the first time you do anything for a new job is a little scary, and you're trying to like learn how to um just function on what works best and what doesn't work best and how to adapt with like different campers. So it was a lot of adapting and learning from other people who've also been doing this for a little bit longer than I have. Um, but just waking up early, showing the energy, being there for the campers, just being excited about being here and showing them the love of Jesus and that we're excited that they're here and we can pour into them.
Awesome. So because there are a lot of young people, high school, college students in the summer, like, oh, I'm going to go work at camp. And
Mhm.
Arrowhead and in the Shepherd's Camp is a whole different ball game as far as the dynamic and the camper and all that. So for those
Mhm.
that aren't familiar, you say disabilities, Shepherd's Camp. Talk a little bit about what that means and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, so Arrowhead's a camp that specializes in serving individuals with developmental disabilities. And so a lot of that looks like just learning the camper's medical history, what you have to do, getting them to take their meds at the specific med times, which the nurse helps a lot with. Just understanding different aspects of different disabilities that exist and having that patience because some of them respond slower or there's mobility needs or mobility aids. So just having that patience to learn how to work alongside the camper and just be a friend with them and just learning what works best for them so you can make the camp experience the best that it can be.
Awesome. I, my brain goes in like 12 different directions with questions because I'm really curious
Yeah.
about your experience and some of the dynamics that are unique to you in the camp and whatnot. But so I've got two questions. I'm going to start with one and then I'll go to the other one. So
Okay.
going back to your background growing up, all of that, what was it, or was there a point in time where you said, you know what, I really have a heart for, and I want to get involved in disability ministry.
Mhm. There definitely was. I grew up being a pastor's kid. Um, and so at a point when my dad moved to a new church, when we moved to Baltimore County, he also started working for a different organization that works with people with disabilities, and he got really into just working with people with disabilities, bringing them into the church, making sure that the church is including them into the services and not just excluding them into like a different class or like pushing them aside during the service because they can be seen as like a distraction or whatever. And just people aren't adapted to accepting. And so when I saw that side of church and how people with disabilities are one of the number one least people reached out to for Christianity and just showing them the love of Jesus, like it just pulled at my heart that like it's an important thing to do to just like reach out their arms and show them the love of Jesus and that like they're accepted and that they're fearfully and wonderfully made. So
That's awesome. Cool.
yeah.
So when you let's talk a little bit about the summer. Were there any stories or circumstances or experiences that kind of stuck out for you as highlights or marking moments?
Hmm. That's a good question. I think specifically for me, I was diagnosed with autism when I was about 13 or 14. And just being able to like understand some of my campers on that aspect a little better. I met a girl maybe the first week I was here. Pretty sure her name's Raina. I'm super bad with names. Um, and we really connected and like I was able to be somebody that she could come to, and that she felt comfortable talking to about that stuff. And then the same thing happened with a different camper that I had. Her name's Chrissy. And that was maybe a week ago. It was in the fall session. And just being able to connect with my campers on that way and have that level of understanding like really stuck out to me, being like, wow, I can really help and have them just feel comfortable in that aspect of life. Because it's a very isolating kind of aspect of their lives where they feel like they're alone, and just having them know that they're not alone and that they have somebody that they can come to really stuck out for me.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
so you high school connected, your heart connected with disability ministry. You got connected to Arrowhead via a friend, did summer, and then made the decision to do TLI. In the
Mm-hmm.
transition from summer to TLI, I mean, you're halfway through the first semester. What has been the same and what has been different between summer and TLI in your experience?
So with the summer, it was constantly go, 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 go. Like there was this activity, there's this activity. We had the weekend and then it was another week that we went into it. Something that's really different when I like switched into this fall session and during my college classes and stuff like that, is it's a lot slower paced. I have more time to like focus on my classwork, but I also have time where I can focus on my campers that I'm working with that week. So transitioning from like a fast-paced environment to a slower-paced environment is a little like a shock, but it's nice to be able to step back and it gives me time to focus on my school, but then it also gives me time to connect with my campers on a different level. So,
Awesome.
mhm.
So, is there anything in your experience with TLI so far that has surprised you or was different than what you expected?
Hmm. Um, I mean, I've worked at different camps kind of like this, not to the extent of what it was, and just like seeing how much goes into it and just like the business aspect and like the team aspect and like how to work as a team and how important that is, which was really shocking for me because I was kind of like, oh, it's just gonna be me, and then I'm gonna do my camper thing, and then it's just gonna be like whatever. But like actually having meetings, sitting down with everybody, being able to like look at books and like different classes for like team building and stuff like that, I think really shocked me there. But I
Hmm.
like it. It's good.
Awesome. You know,
Yeah.
because a lot of students, like high school, college, whatever, they get involved with summer camp, and summer camp is
Hmm.
hair on fire, right? No matter where you
Hmm.
are, it's
Yeah.
kind of nuts. And then you get into a program where during the quote unquote off season where there's different rhythms, and the experience changes. It's, there's a little bit of a culture shock.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in wilderness ministry, and so everybody, I in the summer was guiding trips for wilderness for churches and whatnot, and they, everybody's assumption is that you always live there all the time and it's always the same, and they don't
Yeah.
see the weekends and the prep before and after and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
getting exposure, that's pretty cool
Yeah.
from a experience and learning perspective. Um, so talk about this, the approach to college courses at a place like the TLI at Arrowhead is a bit different than you would get obviously on campus and some other
Mm-hmm.
places. Tell me a little bit about what's your experience been with that so far, from a pace standpoint, from a learning dynamic standpoint, where you feel you're growing, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so with the pace, I have a class, which how we've been doing it is I have a class in the morning and then in the afternoon. And it's really nice because like when going through like we're going through 1 hour one book right now and we're able to like go into depth about it, but then like we can pause it and then we can have a conversation about it. And I think that's really nice because compared to like with my friends that I've been talking to that are going to like bigger colleges, like they have the class and they can't stop when they have a question. They can't like debrief about the question that they have and go into more detail so they can apply that into their lives. So I think that's a really cool thing of like being able to kind of go at the pace that I need to go and understand it. Um, and having that one-on-one time to like understand like what we are learning in that class, like how I can apply it to my life, like why it's important in the first place, I think is really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, it's having been in different learning environments myself, that's a very good point. How it's set up and what room you have to process before you move on to other things
Mm-hmm.
is pretty, and especially when you're like, okay, not only do I have a question about the content, but I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
how does this relate to what I'm doing tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty big dynamic difference.
Yeah.
Um, so high school, did you do online classes? Were you on a regular campus? What was your high school experience like, and how does that compare to what you're experiencing at TLI?
So my high school experience was mostly, I mean, other than COVID, it was in person on campus and it was very busy. I was in school and then right after school I would go to FFA and then after FFA I would have work and I'd be going to like different places all at once. And so then moving here and doing my work and my school and everything and my social life being here, it's definitely a huge change of pace and something that I've definitely been adapting to because I'm not as used to it of being like in one set place for almost everything that I do with my life now. So that's been a huge change of like how high school to this has been absolutely crazy.
Awesome. Okay, so then given that, what has been the biggest challenge so far for you in that transition, the dynamic at TLI, kind of living this season of your life?
Probably the biggest thing is probably not having to go everywhere. I'm so used to like go, 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 go. And like being able to step back and be like look at life on like a different like slow pace kind of way I think is really important because I've been able to focus more on like my time with Jesus and like being able that to make sure that that's actually time that I'm having every day and being able to focus on my schoolwork and not having to just drive everywhere and like feel like a ticking time clock is like going down until like I go to bed and then I wake up and then I start it the next day. So it's nice to be able to like step back and like take life at like a slower pace kind of thing, but also focus on like really important things.
Awesome. So, and again, you're only really 8 or 9 weeks into this at this point, but is there anything that you've learned about yourself in the process at this point that either surprised you or just was helpful?
hmm Something that really surprised me that I've learned about myself since being here is how much I relied on distracting myself with constantly having to do things. Like it was such a distraction. And I would always use it to like distract myself with like, oh, I can't read my Bible. I have to go do this. And just being able to like have that time and be like, girl, you need to like take a step back. Not everything has to be going at 100 miles an hour has been a huge thing I've learned about myself. So that's what I've learned so far.
That's that's huge because I think all of us, if we get into those habits and patterns, I do it, get into those habits
Hmm.
and patterns of, okay, this has to be done, this has to be done, this has to be done. And that rhythm of stop, breathe, think, process, spend time with the Lord, ask him some
Hmm.
questions instead of telling it, firing some stuff at him. That's a pretty
Yeah.
big deal from a
Hmm.
life standpoint. All right. So talk to me a little bit about because I talk to Ben all the time. I talk to Joel a good bit. For those that may be listening, Ben is the director, and Joel heads up CLI, and Lyd is involved. Talk to me about the team dynamic and the relationships and how that works from your perspective at CLI.
So, team dynamics, I mean, I've had jobs before where like you've had to rely on a team, but I think it's a different thing when you're living life together at the same time where you're working. And so being able to, I know a big thing that we've been working on right now is like communication between all of us, which is really important. I never really realized how important it was to have a functioning team and like how important it is to like be okay with talking to somebody where like you think something's going wrong and like having that conversation I think is so important and something that we've all been learning. And I think that just learning how to work in a team, but not just like work, but live life as a team together is really cool. But like something um that's something I've definitely been working on recently because I'm not as used to it. But I think it's such a vital thing to learn. Now that like I see it and like going looking at like my future, I'm like, this is such an important thing to like know and understand. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not the. I mean, there are ways on our normal college campus to gain that sort of stuff, but the level of immersion that you have and the way
Yeah.
that that works, it's not like yeah. I mean, you're talking about engaging existing professionals that have been in it for a long time, people at different stages, and having that
Hmm.
opportunity. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, so if you were introduced to Arrowhead by a friend who is an
Hmm.
alumnus,
Yeah.
and let's say the 17-year-old version of you were to come to you and say, "Hey, let's grab coffee. Help me understand what this TLI thing is and why I might want to think about that." Well, how would you explain that?
Um, like try to explain like what TLI is.
Yeah, what it is and like why they should think about maybe doing something like that, whether it's TLI or something different. Like,
Yeah.
what would you say?
I would say if I was talking to my 17-year-old self, I was so focused on knowing exactly what I needed to do and being focused on going to college because I think it's a very pushed thing to go directly into college and being on a college campus as soon as you graduate high school. And like even talking to my friends that are in college now, they're just not ready. And I've talked to friends that like have like done other gap year programs where just being able to take that step back and just focus on not exactly getting a degree, but also having that time to, you're still going to college, you're still getting these credits, but like you're also able to like live life and learn about yourself and learn about all these other experiences outside of college is so important. And like just growing and still having that time of like that growth of and experiences you would get like moving from home and going to college campus, you still are living that independent life, learning how to be independent and living by yourself and growing in that aspect, but you also have that time to step back and not go right back into like a college campus, which I think is so important, especially for me, because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so when I found this opportunity and now that I'm in this opportunity, like I'm so thankful that like I can look back and be like, wow, like this is giving me the time to understand what I like and what I honestly want to do and how I can do that and like giving me time to make a game plan and like look at my future and learn about like finances and all that stuff. It's just I think it's so cool that like I'm learning about like all this life stuff before I'm jumping right into it without having any idea what I'm supposed to be doing.
Which is exactly the defined purpose of a gap year, which is great.
Yeah.
In a Christian gap year in particular, because there's the practical skills like finance and planning and team dynamics and all that stuff. And then
Hmm.
there's the, okay, what does Jesus have to say about this? What's the Lord's call in my life? All of that. And,
Yeah.
especially if you don't quite know what you're headed into yet and you're still sorting that stuff out, the
Hmm.
opportunity to kind of download that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
In a place where people are actually focused on not just getting you through a program, but saying, okay,
Hmm.
who's Maddie? Where's Maddie headed? How do we navigate that process and whatnot? All right. So that
Yeah.
said, this is probably a question for like next May as opposed to October, which is where we are right now. But at this point, do you have an idea yet what you'd like to do next, or what you think maybe God's going to put in your path next?
Yeah, so I've been looking a lot into media, media marketing and social media and marketing kind of stuff. I think it's always been a super fascinating thing. My dad's always done it, and I've always been super interested in like um just like the whole mental idea behind it and all of that stuff. But I also have a heart for like agriculture and working with people in agriculture and with disabilities, like on hippotherapy farms and stuff like that. And like I'm using like horses and like the physical therapy kind of side with that. So I'm kind of in between two places right now, but just being able to look back and like focus and really connect with people in those fields and like understand what those fields are actually like before I just jump into it, I think is really important for me. So I think that that's really cool.
Awesome. So do you think college next as it relates to that, or are you thinking alternative pathways? What's at least at this point, again, we're early in the process.
Mhm. I've definitely been looking into like different colleges, possibly community college, getting those other basic things down. But it's definitely an option right now for college. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. Well, that's all the questions I had on my list. I really very fun conversation for me because again, one of the things I love about what I do is I get to meet awesome students, and you have all these different paths and journeys that God's just kind of put into young people, and
Hmm.
just seeing like hearing your heart, hearing your thought process, and seeing how that's intersecting the program. It's an encouragement to me because I kind of sit on the other side of the desk and I'm like, I think
Yeah.
this is what we're accomplishing. But I appreciate even just the opportunity to have the conversation, but also the opportunity to be part of your journey.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to me, anyways. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. It was good talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. So hopefully, maybe we should follow this up again in May and have another
Yeah,
conversation and see where you went. Is that good?
definitely.
Awesome.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Maddie. Have a great
All
week.
right. Thank you. Bye.
Take care.